Hello, Emma.
Hi.
All right, so this is a collaboration. I realize I didn't add the other logos on here. The Chamber of Commerce is supporting this effort to get this information out. The town of Manchester, of which Workspace is a part of, and both us and the Department of Planning and Economic Development. Tana's here representing them. And Shelley, of course, who works out of Workspace, among other places throughout Connecticut, is here first to present some content and then update us on resources and then answer your questions. So I have my chat window open, but if I don't respond to a question you put in the chat window, feel free to turn your microphone on and ask your question. So what we're first going to talk about is the difference between the old model of business sustainability and what it means now to sustain your business by adapting, pivoting your plan, and then the resiliency required. Then there's some content on staying connected, how to best communicate with your clients, and then a resource update. And who knows, by the time we get to there, things could have changed already. But you can reach out to Shelley after the call at any point. Shelley, you and I had a discussion about sustainability.
Yeah.
So what's the difference now when we talk about sustaining your business?
Well, first I want to ask if everybody can hear me, and if there's an echo, then someone just needs to mute themselves. That's all. So sustainability is really about how you are able to sustain within your business. It could mean the model of sustainability of you are going to be a green company, things you implement to sustain your mission and your vision, sustainability. And that kind of can carry over into some type of resiliency because the two kind of go hand in hand. You know, if you want to be resilient, you have to implement something inside to sustain that. So what we have in today during this pandemic is really a combination of both, but what is really emerging is the resiliency part. If you are a business today and you haven't implemented any sustainability practices, you can start, but given the environment we're in, resiliency is going to be a major factor, and really taking a deep look at what you are going to need to do, how you're going to adjust, adapt, pivot, all of that inside of what you already have, and then build upon your sustainability. So it's almost somewhat, if I can use an analogy, of flipping it inside out, of you know, checking to see what's there and what has worked and what hasn't. You know, we gotta adjust and move the needle. Okay, that works great. Keep that, move it. So then that will now become your sustainability plan. So it's all intertwined, but when you pick it apart, you really have to pick it apart piece by piece. And you know, the mindset that we're in right now is really, as a society, we are scrambling. Everybody is trying to sustain their homes and their personal well-being as well as a job. You know, those who are fortunate enough to still have an essential job, you know, it's a very fortunate position. And then the other side, those who don't, this is when you create a sustainability plan. What's next? And what is working and what do I need to change? So forth and so on. So to that point, do we roll into kind of, you know, number two here?
Yeah, and I wanted to say that because these updates are we don't know what's gonna happen next week. This call is gonna happen next week, but if there aren't a great deal of resources or updates to go through, we'll take people's questions, and then Shelley wants to move through with a program of helping companies be resilient with more concrete, tangible actions. Is that right, Shelley?
Correct. So, and we can get into that after this, but it's it's called the resiliency. It's a business resiliency plan, keeping the lights on. And it was created from America's SBDC, which is our parent company. They have created a 4-phase webinar, of which I will be giving one phase at a time, because with that, it goes through every piece and part of that phase. And the different phases, again, I'll get into a little bit later, but it's phase 1 is identifying, identifying what works, what doesn't, creating a plan, and then looking at how that plan is going to work and then implement it. And then really the last piece, which everybody wants to jump to, is recover. So without these other steps in place, recovering is really putting a Band-Aid on something and moving forward. And eventually that's going to come off. So this particular webinar 4-phase program will allow us to take it step by step and give you a concrete foundation to move into the next phase. And then you kind of adjust it as you go. So that will be the next piece. And that kind of incorporates pivoting your plan. We'll do that inside of creating this resiliency plan, because what it looks like today, what it looked like yesterday, will not entirely look like what's moving forward. So those are the things we want to then identify, right? So to a lot of people's points and where they sit today, right now they're waiting for some relief, and for things to start moving. But when that happens, which we'll get into next, things are going to start moving as far as hopefully some money coming through and people actually being able to breathe a little bit more. And then it's like, what is next? What do we do now? We have the money now and we can keep the lights on, but now how do we move forward? So that's a deeper look. So should I just keep moving on here? So until then, a lot of key points regarding your customers and keeping that touch base. Doesn't matter if you're open or closed, your intentions are to reopen. You want to stay in touch with those clients. And there's 6 different ways, and I've taken this from other sources and pilfered some of the really good stuff. But when you're staying connected, there are really 6 ways that a lot of different industries have taken and used. And one is, make sure they know your business info. Whether you're open, give them your new hours. If you're closed, just keep in touch with them and let them know, we'll be opening soon. Just want to let you know, hope you and yours are well, so that they're in your mind. If you have the ability, currently, digital visibility. If you don't, that's something that you're going to want to start thinking about, which will come into play into the resiliency plan, but start thinking about it now. Create a Facebook page, create whatever social media you can. Keep that moving. And then, inside of all this, and it's hard to sometimes think about because we have so many things that are going on, is to really, reach out beyond yourself. How can I help? Is my community in need, and what can I do? And this as well then plays a part into how you're going to keep sharing with your clients. You're going to tell them what you're doing. Hey, we can't be open, but we are feeding, kids or workers. We stop and give, the FedEx workers a lunch, or whatever it is that you can do. And when you give and can give, it always comes back tenfold. We don't know how, but it always does.
And there's recent articles, Shelley, about the economy and the importance of small businesses and Main Street, because they are the ones who provide these community help. They are the ones who sponsor the high school teams and support the local workers more so than the big corporations, which is a lot of times what gets focused on in terms of our economy. So I think Main Street, downtown, small businesses, entrepreneurs are getting some attention. Maybe not to all the audiences, but.
No, and I think that will emerge a little bit more when businesses feel a little more relief. When people are not rushing through their doors, I think the community will find itself in more of helping efforts from those who have some time on their hands, even though they might be open or maybe not back to school, they're a teacher, what can I do? Because everybody wants to help in some way. It's just a matter of timing and what's available in their community. So any new procedures that you are doing in light of the coronavirus, if you are open, let them know that you're sterilizing, let them know you have X's on the floor for social distancing. Let them know what you are doing to help protect them when they come into your facility. If it's valet service, I have a dog service I take my new puppy to, and they were closed for a little while, but they opened up and they do doggy valet. Now we can't go in, but they can come and pick up the dog from your car, take them in, and they can play all day, and then they bring them back out. They wipe down the dogs when they come in and they wipe them down when they go out, and you can, smell the Lysol. So they are assuring me that they are taking the necessary steps, as well as providing me with a great service, being able to, take care of my dog during the day when I'm supposed to be working, when I am working. So, other pieces that are specific to your industry, special promotions, and think outside of the box. If you see something, use it. There's nothing proprietary. If you see another business in another town doing something that's great, absolutely take it. The tutorial classes, education, professional development, start your own blog. A lot of people have like information that they want to get out. Starting a blog is a great way to, one, document, but as well share your experiences with your customers. And then you can, put that out on social media. Hey, check out the blog. And I think really what we all, as humans, we want to know that people care about us, and checking in and just making sure that they are okay. That there is an absolute sincerity, yes, you're my customer and I would love for you to come and buy, but I'm really checking in to make sure you and your family are okay. And if you're not, let me know how I can help. Can I bring you sandwiches? Do you need batteries to charge that? Whatever it is that you can provide. And just remind them that, you will be open soon and things will get back to somewhat of a norm. And that everything will be okay. We just need to get through this together. So
and
those
I
are really
want to reiterate about being very specific in asking if you can help. Two reasons are, one, if you just say, what can I do? Then people might ask you things that you don't have the capacity to do or out of your realm because everybody's so overwhelmed. And two, they might want your help. They might not know what to ask from you, what you can offer, or they're so overwhelmed they can't crystallize their thoughts. But if you can be specific like that, can I make you a meal? I'm going to the grocery store. I have extra toilet paper. Something specific that you think they might need that is relatively easy for you to accomplish. Just general, how can I help you? A lot of times people don't know what to do with that, or they load too much onto you.
Very good point. Yeah, exactly. So I think that is really a key point in today, knowing, just keeping in touch. Absolutely keeping in touch and reminding our businesses that this is an important time to be able to do that. People are home, that you have a captive audience, sending out emails, checking in, texts. So, it's an unprecedented time, one where we know where everybody is. So, ads on TV, they're very targeted, as well. Businesses can be the same, be very targeted, and everybody's home. They're going to be reading their emails, their texts, and on their phone. So, so that's the points that I had today. This is what I was referring to, the program, the 4 phases. And I think once we are around a little bit more of the corner in regards to some relief from the SBA, the EIDL loan, and the PPP, which is the Payment Protection Program, this is going to be on people's minds. How do I move forward? Okay, I have the money now, I can keep the lights on, but for how long? And so this particular program will absolutely allow us to take a deeper dive. And I encourage you to share it with your members, with anybody who would like to participate. And we'll have more details coming out probably beginning of next week. Excuse me, sorry. I have a little dog here who is very curious.
Kelly, these are questions that came in via email, if you want to address some of them. And then if anybody else has questions for you, they're more than welcome to chime in.
Sure. So let me begin by letting everybody know that while I work for the SBA, and part state and Yukon, we have absolutely no control. We are kind of a resource center, and invariably do not have timelines. We are not in the loop as to where these applications are. We are given information from the SBA and are doing our best to kind of mull through that and make sure everybody gets the information they need. And then it's really, for you to move forward with. And having said that, let's go through these questions. So the PPP stipulates that businesses have 8 weeks to utilize funds for payroll from the time they receive their monies. Otherwise, it will be considered a loan. Is there any flexibility if the order to stay closed is still in place after the 8-week period has elapsed? This timeline is very fuzzy. Again, we have no other information except for the 8 weeks from the time the money is deposited in your bank account. After that, we have no idea, and it's really not up to us. It's more SBA, and I think that's really going to depend on how quickly they get the money out. So again, you'll have to stay tuned with that one. I would say that they would absolutely have to kind of change the timeline or move it for some, because June 30th is coming up pretty quickly, and it's not like it's all that far away. So you'll just have to stay tuned on that one. It is now being reported that the PPP will be out of money by the end of today. Will or when new funds be allocated to this program? So yes, we were notified very early this morning that the PPP, they are no longer taking any applications for. We have no idea if any new funds or if there's going to be a second round for this particular program. Do we expect the program guidelines to change? These are all great questions, because if I were sitting over there, I'd want to ask these too. Everything has changed on a daily basis. There are things that are just now becoming finalized in regards to this program. Questions that were asked a month ago. And the reason being, so the program in its enormity, okay, is coming down from Washington. So we have stipulations that are coming down from Washington. They then are dispersed to the SBAs in each region, and then it comes down to us. So by the time it gets to where it needs to be, we hear about it, but that doesn't mean that it's been finalized. So some of these dates and whatnot have changed already because it wasn't finalized, but now it is. So this is a very fluid, and probably will be for the next, 2 or 3 weeks until everything is dispersed. And then things might be fluid again, going back to question 1, because we've never done this before. We've never had a pandemic in this day and age. So, it is unfortunate, and the SBA has obviously identified some dysfunctions, but they're doing what they can to make sure that we are disseminated the right information and not just hearsay. So I would expect, yes, things to change. As far as major things that they've put out there, no, but the details, yes, those could change. Could you please briefly review the HEDCO COVID-19 Business Response Program, line of credit for women and minority-owned business? Yes, it's very brief. It's very simple. You must be a minority-owned business, which includes women-owned businesses. It is a $20,000 line of credit. The process is of the same. You're going to need to have projections. You will need to have your tax returns. I wouldn't say it is as intense as a traditional loan, but you are going to have your financials in order. It is a quicker process and not as scrutinized because it is SBA money. But this particular piece, they are already running out. They only had $2 million to allocate out. And as of yesterday, we're asking for more money. So anything that's coming up is going very quickly. I have no idea. I'm hoping and anticipating that they will be granted more money because there is more money in the minority loan fund. So we're hoping that will happen. If I'm not sure what else you wanted me to review, but all of the eligibility rules are on HEDCO's website, which I can send out to you. I have a specific link for this particular loan. If you would like, I can get that to you. I have already applied for SBA loan and received an application number. How can I check my status? I'm not sure if they've approved my application or not. Is it possible you have someone that can help me check my status? So in checking the status, and this is for the EIDL loan, there is no one particular place. We are finding that an email has been received by, maybe the first people that were in the queue. And what that is really a prelude to them getting that grant piece. But then shortly thereafter, a few days, they are then being in touch or getting in touch with the SBA and then moving forward with their application. Now, when I say these are the first people, I mean, this was the version 1. This is where it was online and their application, they got everything uploaded and it was in. They still had to go back and apply again. But what they did is they were able to link the two and they have all their paperwork. So they're moving through those people first. And then I can only assume that it is in line of how you applied. Again, we don't have that information. The only thing that we were given was that phone number, the customer service phone number and email address that is on the page where your application number was. At the very bottom line, there's in the small, it's kind of small print, but it has a customer service number. They can't tell you your status, but if it makes you feel better, you can be on hold and talk to somebody and find out if they have any new information. So there isn't anybody. No, I'm sorry. There's no one to help on that status. If I'm self-employed. Go ahead. Sorry.
I just want to just make sure I can write this down properly. So the best recommendation you have at this point, although you cannot, guarantee that anybody's really going to be answered the question, is to use the customer service phone number and or email address that's on the page with their application number.
Yes, it should be at the very bottom.
Okay.
It should say customer service number, and it's 1-800. I can get it out. I should know it by memory, but, and then there's
It's okay.
an email address.
As long as I can tell them where to look.
Yeah. And again, I've been calling that number for 2 weeks, and the response is the same. The email address that I send out, acknowledging who I am, I never get a response from.
Mm-hmm.
So while it is there, it is seemingly not a good form or way of communication. I will say the customer service number, they are very, very good if you're having an issue with your application or if you need something linked, but they can't tell you the status of it.
So really an individual that had applied and has received their loan number, they really simply have to be in a holding pattern and wait until they are contacted?
That is what we are seeing, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And checking your emails frequently as well as your spam.
Okay.
Spam content folder. Okay, last, I think it's the 6th. I'm self-employed, sole proprietor. I haven't felt the work slow down yet, but anticipate it will come in June and July. Should I still pursue loan grant opportunities at this point? Well, so I would have told you yes, you should have, just by virtue of you don't know what's going to happen. But given the status now, there is no more money for the EIDL. SBA has closed application as well as the PPP. So while I would have said yes, you should have applied, that is no longer possible. What I would tell you is look for other options out there, just in case. We haven't had many come across our table yet, but I imagine there will be, $5,000 grants here, or this, that, and the other thing. Those tend to filter down when something of this caliber kind of closes. So those will rise to the top. So unfortunately, the opportunities that we're given are closed. And that is, it's a sad day, feeling like there's so much more to do, but we don't have anything to offer. So I just am, consistently making sure that those who have applied are taken care of, and as well those who aren't, absolutely. But I want to make sure that they're in line and they should get what they applied for.
At the end of this PowerPoint, we have some links and resources that were included in last week's call. But Shelley, for people who do want to be notified when these new monies become available, what's the best resource? Is it the Town of Manchester website? I know the Chamber has a resource page, Prepared Hartford has a resource page, or is it just the SBA or Connecticut Small Business Development Center?
Well, so I think out of the gate is typically the SBA or the SBDC, because that's how we find out. And what we do first is we vet it. We make sure that it's going to, it's real, right? It's not just a scam, or it's maybe for 1 in 10,000 persons that, lives on the corner of Farmington and Plainville. So we just want to make sure that it's going to help a number of people. So having said that, I would check our website, but I will usually disseminate that to Connections, Workspace, you know, the chambers and whatnot, so that they can get that out as well.
Does anybody have any questions? We've got about 6 minutes left on this call.
I have one. The chamber let us know about a new loan program, a grant program called Save Small Business Fund. I think it's a Greater Chamber program. However, I don't know that it applies to Manchester. When I went to try to fill out a test application, it said our zip code.
That's a new one that has come out.
Yep.
And we are now checking all the different areas that, because you have to be in a vulnerable area
Right.
due to COVID, which in our minds is every single town. But for this particular loan, it is not. And we got it about 10 o'clock this morning. And, you know, it can be very great for some, like Waterbury. There's pieces and parts of Hartford, but you have to put it in by zip code. So, you know, it's one of those where you just have to disseminate appropriately. And that's one reason why it hasn't gone out, because I'm not going to send it to any Manchester businesses and get their hopes up because they're not qualified, which
Right.
is kind of unfortunate. So yes, it is out there. For Waterbury, and it might be you put your zip code in and you find out if
Great,
you're
there's another question.
qualified.
Yes, I have a question. Since this is all about connecting, I'd like to know who else is participating here. I see little tiny faces, but I don't know you. I'm Donna DuBaldo from DuBaldo Music and Bellers Music in downtown Manchester. So I know Tana and Lynn.
And I'm Stacy, the manager of Workspace.
Yes, I know you, Stacy. And
Donna, I'm Emma Peterson with the Manchester Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and actually used to work at Workspace.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
And who's there in the Rocky Mountain?
Joy Doran from Economic Development Commission.
Nice.
And where are you, Joy? Where are you?
Yeah, right. I'm in Bryce Canyon.
Oh,
All right.
yes, and I'm in
Finally figured out how to do a virtual background.
I love it.
Okay, and
Anyone else want to say hello?
Steve?
I don't know if people can hear me.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Leslie?
Hi. I was lucky enough to show work at Workspace for their perspective show. So I'm just on their email list. I'm stuck in the house, and I was just curious kind of what the meeting was.
Oh, great.
I didn't honestly have too much to contribute. I was just curious what it was and if it would be helpful to me. And to some degree it was. But thank you guys so much for all sharing.
So we have 3 minutes left. Does anybody else want to introduce themselves? Otherwise, I'm going to make a request. Okay. So if this was valuable to you, if you could go back where you saw it on social media and say, hey, that was great or whatever, that would be helpful, because Workspace is trying to contribute to more people and the more people that know about us. And if you thought based on our marketing this was going to be something different than it was, if you could email me and let me know what you thought it was going to be, we'll either make it that next time or change the words of our description. It is going to evolve every week based on what there is to say, because I know it's very hard for Shelley to, you know, be asked questions that she doesn't know the answers to, because things change so quickly. But we're going to continue to offer this weekly, and Shelley's going to do her resiliency program, which is a 4-week series, and I'm trained as a life coach, so I think I will do a personal resiliency program, a companion piece to that, and anything you can do to help us share it to people who might find it valuable. We're also saving these videos in case anybody does want to go back and revisit. And if anybody does want a copy of the slideshow, I'm happy to share it with you. Just email me your request. Emma, anything happening at the chamber you want to announce?
Sure. So I guess the big thing that I want to announce right now, I mean, some of the things that we offer are just for our chamber members, but something that we are trying to interact with the public on is a Connecticut supply share program. So we are really trying to connect certain items for donation that may be medical supplies, but may also not be medical supplies. You know, we've had a behavioral healthcare facility that was looking for board games for their patients. And so we have just making connections on that. So if you know of anybody that's maybe sewing masks that are looking for donation locations, or your business is in need of something, would love to connect with you on that. And anyone can get in touch with me at emma@manchesterchamber.com.
Great. It's gonna end. I think next week I will have already paid for the extended version, but this one is a 40-minute cutoff, so it's probably gonna shut us down. So I wanna thank you all for being here. And again, anything that we can do, we'll try to find you the right resource and make the right connections. Anything else anybody wants to say?
Thank you so much. for
Thank
your-
you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And reach out if you need anything.
All right. Have a good day, everybody. And there's the contact
Thank you
information
all.
for Shelley. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
all.
Bye.